Hi, I'm Paula from Paula's DIY Decor and welcome to my channel. I'm the crafter from Down Under and today I'm so excited to bring to you my Boho DIY tablescape series. I have 8 fabulous DIYs to make on a total budget for you to create this gorgeous boho style, chic, elegant table. Let's get started. For my first DIY, I'd like to share with you how I made this gorgeous and beautiful boho wooden chandelier. All I used was some wooden balls of different shapes and sizes, 2 wreath rings and some string. How gorgeous does it look on that table setting? Your guests are definitely going to be impressed. So to start with, you're going to need a wire. This is a 26 gauge wire, and you'll need 2 metal rings, one slightly smaller than the other. Look, the size of this chandelier is really as large as the frame that you can buy. So if you can get a 16-inch ring or an 18-inch ring, that's totally up to you. I just had these 2 rings in my stash, which I have used for some other decorative centerpieces. And all you need to do is make sure that one ring is smaller than the other because you want to create a cascading effect with your chandelier. So what you can see me doing here is measuring out using the gauged wire, a way to adhere the 2, not adhere, but to string the 2 rings together so that the larger ring sits higher up than the lower ring. I didn't really use a ruler or any particular measurements. I eyeballed the distance between the inner circle or the inner ring to the outer ring. So all you have to do is use your gauged wire and then twist that around to secure it to each ring. If you didn't want to create the frame of the chandelier yourself, if you can find a wreath ring or a wreath frame that has got one size larger than the other, so the outer ring is larger than the inner ring, by all means use that. But I didn't have one of those wreath forms on hand, so I just created it myself. So to start creating the wooden chandelier, I just used a couple of packets of wooden balls, different sizes, large, medium and small. And I actually went out to my garage and found that I had an entire roll of just plain old string. It's kind of like this plasticky string. It's really hard on your hands, but you can use twine or you can use really thick cotton or even wool. If you were to get some knitting wool, that would work equally well. I just used what I had again in my garage, and it was a little bit tough to work with, but I managed to get it through. So what you want to do is you want to string and knot the string to your wreath form starting from the outside, and you want to start creating kind of like a loopy sort of cascading effect with your wooden balls. So you can see that I've already started creating a design. It's kind of like a U shape, using different sized. I use on the outer part of the string, I use the smaller wooden balls, and then as I got to the center of the string, I used the larger wooden balls just to create that nice interesting effect with the chandelier. Again, you can use whatever size balls you like. You can have them all in the one size, or you can rotate the different size. Sometimes you can even use some square wooden balls. I know that sounds weird, but they come in square shape. And then you work your way around and create a pattern on the outer ring. And then I started to create the inner ring where I used much smaller wooden round balls, and I made that string hang lower than the outer ring so that when you hold it up, the inner part of the chandelier dangles longer than the outer part of the chandelier. Again, using your string, create some solid knots all the way around, and then a neat little hack is to use some of that blue tape to put at the end of your string so it doesn't fray as you string it through the center of each ball. So just continue to create some long loops on the inner ring so that you end up with I created 4 long loops on the inner ring, and then I just used some candle holders to prop up the candelabra centerpiece so that I could then keep working on it and not get all tangled up. At the end of the day, you end up with so many different hanging loops, you do tend to get a little bit confused. So what I did next then was I wasn't happy with having the frame of the chandelier exposed, so I created some more strings of wooden beads and decided to use my hot glue and just glue a ring of beads around the wreath form, and I thought that gave it that extra finish and really made it look quite nice and sophisticated. Remember that when you hang this chandelier, your guests will be looking up, so you've got to really minimize any loose strings or globs of glue and try and cover up as much as you can. To actually surround the inner frame or the inner ring, what I did then was I used the glue gun and I glued a string of balls, smaller balls, again for the inner ring, facing down, so that if you were to look straight up through the center of the chandelier, all you'd see is a ring of wooden balls, which I think is a much neater and sophisticated finish. So to finish off the chandelier, all you're going to do is get 3 pieces of string, tie them to the outer ring of the chandelier, and then I decided you can leave it like that and hang them just with the string, as you can see, but I decided it would be a really nice finish to thread just a few more balls on each of those pieces of string, and then that finishes off the chandelier in a really nice clean way. All you do then is tie it off at the top and you can hang it from your ceiling. How gorgeous is this boho chandelier? I think it is stunning. It's by far one of my favourite DIY crafts. It's so easy to make. Just some wooden balls, some string and a wreath form, and there you have a gorgeous wooden centerpiece that looks stunning on your boho tablescape, or as part of your decor in your home if you've got that beautiful natural wooden earthy look throughout your home. It's a great decor piece that you can use in any room. For my next DIY, I'd like to share with you how I made this beautiful boho hanging candle pendant. So to get started, you're going to need a packet of bamboo skewers or shish kebabs, some glue and some gold spray paint for later on, or whatever colour spray paint you like, and some clippers. Now I don't actually have the dimensions of this pendant. I had the idea in my head. It was actually a creation idea that I had from the golden terrarium, Mother's Day terrarium that I had made earlier in my series in my channel, and I'll put the link in the description box below to the Mother's Day terrarium. But I thought, wouldn't it be nice to extend that terrarium and create kind of like a hanging pendant so that you can have your cute little candles hanging above the table. So I created a template and I'm cutting down the skewers to that template. But basically what you're trying to make are 2 triangles butt up against each other. So you've got the pointy end of the triangle at the top and the pointy end of the triangle at the bottom, and in between you're creating a little square so that you can rest your candle onto. So what you're seeing me do right now is I'm creating the frame of the triangle, and I've cut down some 4 bamboo skewers to a square shape and simply gluing them to the corners. Again, I don't have the dimensions, but I guess they're about maybe 4 centimeters each or a couple of inches each. And then you're going to cut some slightly taller bamboo skewers to create your triangular form, and that's the piece that you want nice and long, so you've got a nice sort of kind of like a pendant shape. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's nice and long at the top and nice and long at the bottom. So you can see me just using the glue to bring the bamboo skewers together to start to create two triangular forms. Sometimes when you're using the hot glue gun, and I do recommend you use a low temperature glue so that it dries quicker and it just makes it easier for you to maneuver the bamboo sticks to create your different form. In my case, the triangular form. Sometimes the glue does get a little bit messy, so just use some scissors to cut off any excess glue. Then use the shorter pieces of the bamboo skewers to create a square divider between the two triangular forms. You can see at the center of the square I've got the two longer horizontal sticks. That's where we're going to place our candle tea light. So now I'm putting the top of the triangle together to that centerpiece. You don't have to create that sort of connecting square bit in the middle. I just really liked how it looked. I thought it looked really nice and sophisticated, and but you can just glue the two triangular pieces together and you'll equally get a nice shape. This is it. These are my two boho hanging pendants complete. To give it just that final little pizzazz, I took them outside and I sprayed them with some gold spray paint that I had in my stash. And there you have it, a beautiful boho hanging pendant. You can see it there as part of my boho tablescape series. I think they look really stunning. This is later in the day, and I've got the beautiful battery operated candle tea light, so I don't have to worry about anything going up in flames, and it looks equally nice. Beautiful boho pendant that you can use as part of any tablescape, but in this case really brings the boho tablescape to life. So for this next DIY, I'm really excited to share with you the simplest of DIYs. The most beginner crafter can make this. They're boho hanging flowers. All you're going to need are some long stemmed flowers. I'm using some apricot or peach coloured peonies and some rattan or straw type of material. Anything that looks kind of rustic and boho and a little bit kind of farmhouse meets boho really. And all you're going to do is wrap that piece of straw or rattan around the stem of your flower, glue the ends so it doesn't unravel when you hang them, and that's it. You've got a beautiful boho style floral that you then can hang from any hook or ceiling. In my case, I'm hanging it above my boho tablescape series. Super easy and complements beautifully with the boho pendants that we've just made. Next, I want to share with you how I made this beautiful boho floral centerpiece. I've used a combination of boho inspired colours. You'll see some apricots there and some muted browns, and I've used some white baby's breath just to give it that boho earthy sort of wispy look. I think those flowers are peonies, I'm not entirely sure. And I've used some apricot hibiscus florals as well to create the centerpiece. Now the base of the centerpiece is glass. It's actually a used candle which came in that beautiful dark brown glass, and it has a bit of a design on the outside of the glass too, just to give it that kind of boho natural earthy style. And then I arranged the flowers just to give it a really nice tight kind of jam-packed in there floral feel to it. And a little hack that I want to share with you is if you really want to create a boho theme but you really don't have the budget, which I don't, to give it those little extra touches, I used some feathers to give it the boho centerpiece some of that wispy feel. You can see I had some trouble putting in some greenery at the bottom there. But if you use some feathers and I just arranged them in between each of the petals, it really gave it that sort of interesting earthy feel to the decoration. And then I used some of that rattan that I had as part of my hanging floral arrangement that I just shared with you, and I kind of interspersed it throughout the arrangement just to give it a little bit more of that natural earthy wispy sort of feel to the centerpiece. So there you have it, a beautiful floral centerpiece using earthy colours, apricots and sort of dusty pinks and dusty browns with a few little wispy baby's breath in between, and it really looks gorgeous as a centerpiece on your boho tablescape. Next, I want to share with you how I made these really cute boho feathered flowers that you can use with any table decoration or a vase. You're going to need some bamboo skewers, some glue and some feathered quills. I had these quills in my stash. They came with a bag of feathers that I had bought for another project. You can pick up feathered quills in any craft store or in Australia in a $2 store, and they come in a range of different colours. I just decided I had white in my stash. Now what I'm trying to replicate are some desert flowers. Now desert flowers you can find in a craft store, but in Australia they are super expensive, around $12 or $13 for a stem of a desert flower. Way out of my budget. So I thought I could create a similar look, kind of like a desert type of flower, using these feathered quills. So all you're going to do is arrange them in a circular pattern using your glue. As you can see there, it's pretty easy because the quills make it really easy to adhere to the bamboo skewer. And that's it. So just glue and some feathers and a stick and you have a beautiful feathered flower that you will shortly see me arranging as part of my boho tablescape. Here you see me arranging the feathered flowers in and amongst some florals that I'm using as part of my boho tablescape, encased in a gorgeous brown vase that I found in Spotlight for $3. I just wrapped a bit of rattan around them, and look at these gorgeous feathered flowers. They look stunning. They're totally in theme with the boho tablescape. Really super easy to make and on a budget. Next, I want to show you how I made this gorgeous Boho Fan Flower. Now, you can pick up these fan flowers in a florist shop, and you can even find them in the artificial flower section of a craft store, but they are really, really expensive. So I thought I would dupe it using some cardstock. So I picked up some 12 by 12 cardstock in a boho sort of muted sort of orangey brown colour, and all you're going to do is create an accordion style fold. So I started by folding the cardstock in half just so that it gave me the dimensions of each fold and I wasn't going to fold them sort of in a crooked way. And really then you're going to fold your paper forward and then backwards and then forward and then backwards, as you'll see me doing in a moment, to create that accordion style fold. Once you've done the accordion style throughout the whole cardstock, then you're going to fold your piece of paper in half and use your glue gun to adhere both sides together, as you can see me doing. Then what that will do is create kind of like a fan. Really, you should end up with a fan form, but then the shape really didn't sort of look like the bohemian style of flower that you can buy in the stores. So I just used my scissors and started to create and cut out the shape that was more kind of like a triangle with a curved edge. Now, to stand it up in my vase, I just made a hole in the center of the flower, of the fanned flower, put some hot glue gun in a bamboo skewer, and then just pierced it through. And there you can see a beautiful boho fan flower that will look absolutely stunning with my desert themed boho style of vase, which will go on my boho tablescape. Next, I want to share with you how I made this boho feather charger plate. Now, as you know, when I'm creating my tablescapes, I like to layer my crockery, and I like to use a variety of different charger plates and interesting coloured plates in between my crockery to really bring that extra something special to the table. And I thought, what could I use to really make the crockery a boho theme? So I thought, why not use feathers? So all you need are some salad plate sized paper plates, some feathers, and it really complements the quill feathered flowers that we just made in the previous DIY. All you need is some feathers. You can use any colour. I just had some white feathers in my stash. Put some glue around the edge of the paper plate and then arrange your feathers around the plate, and that's it. You have a super interesting charger plate that you can layer as part of your crockery, and it looks absolutely amazing. It's boho, it's natural, it's earthy. Once you've got the feathers glued down, they don't really fly away on your table, so don't worry about that. Remember, they are for decoration purposes only. I hope you enjoyed this DIY. I thought it was super interesting. I really love it as part of my boho tablescape. I'd like to share with you how to make some fantastic boho inspired burlap coasters. Now, when you're putting a tablescape together, you really need to think about every element on the table, and it's really easy to forget coasters, but they make such a great addition to the decorative style of your table. So I had a burlap runner in my stash, but you can pick it up from any $2 store or any crafting store. Any type of burlap will do. I just happen to have a cream coloured burlap strip. It's actually a burlap ribbon, and I just used some of my existing coasters, cut it down to size, frayed the edges a little bit to give it that more rustic boho feel and look, and simply glued it onto my coasters. Now, I used only a very light dab of glue using my hot glue gun with a low temperature glue so that I can remove the burlap ribbon and reuse my coasters for another project. So I had a combination of square coasters and round coasters, but not enough of either, so I combined some square coasters with some round coasters. As you can see, it's really made those coasters rustic and boho style, and it looks absolutely stunning on the table. I think you're going to love it, and honestly, for a beginner DIYer, you don't even have to DIY. This is the most simple way to really create that boho tablescape and that feel that you're looking for on your table. So for my final DIY, I'd like to share with you how I made this gorgeous boho style napkin ring using the wooden round balls that we used for an earlier DIY, some string, or you can use some jute or some twine or some cotton. All you have to do is string through the different sized wooden balls. I used small, medium and large for my napkin ring, and create a design. You're also going to need some rattan or some straw-like material to create a tassel. So once you've finished stringing all of your balls through the napkin ring holder, just loop the rattan around your fingers, 6 or 7 times, and then tie it onto your napkin ring using the string, and then with your scissors cut the end of the rattan to create that nice little tassel. Once you've finished doing that, tie the entire napkin ring together using a nice solid knot, and then I wanted to stain my wooden balls a slightly darker colour, and I used a mixture of brown acrylic paint and some water to create a stain. And there you have it, a gorgeous boho themed napkin ring holder that looks absolutely gorgeous on my boho tablescape. It's really easy to make. If I can do it, you can do it too. I hope you've enjoyed this last DIY. Now it's time to tablescape.